November 6, 1865. The American Civil War comes to an end after the surrender of the CSS Shenandoah. Exactly 1 month later, the 13th Amendment was ratified, officially banning slavery. This amendment marked a huge milestone for the Black civil rights movement, and without it, who knows what would have happened to the African American people. Wait. But what did the 13th Amendment actually say? Neither slavery nor involuntary servitude shall exist within the United States or any place subject to their jurisdiction. Well, that's great, but it's not the full picture. We missed a part. Oh no. Picture this, it's the year 1963. JFK was just assassinated and the Vietnam War is raging strong. To calm your nerves, you buy some dope, what they called weed in the 60s. You go home and smoke it, but your neighbor catches a whiff and calls the police. 15 minutes later, the cops are at your door. They arrest you on account of possession of marijuana. Because of the Boggs Act that was passed in 1952, the minimum sentence for a first-time marijuana offense would be 2 to 10 years in prison. That's a long time for one blunt. Fast forward, it's the 70s, and Nixon just announced that drugs were public enemy number 1. Drug abuse is heavily penalized, and campaigns against drug use are plastered on billboards, comic book, and television. It seems like the US government is just trying to care for its citizens and their safety. But we forgot one thing: never trust the government. In 1994, the presidential domestic policy advisor John Ehrlichman said in an interview that, "You want to know what this was really all about? The Nixon campaign in 1968 and the Nixon White House after that had two enemies, the anti-war left and black people. We knew we couldn't make it illegal to be either against the war or black, but by getting the public to associate the hippies with marijuana and blacks with heroin, and then criminalizing both heavily, we could disrupt those communities. We could arrest their leaders, raid their homes, break up their meetings, and vilify them night after night on the evening news." Did we know we were lying about the drugs? Of course we did. F*** you, John Ehrlichman. But what do the 13th Amendment, the Boggs Act, and the war on drugs have in common? They all fuel the horrible, racially motivated, profit-driven industry that is the US prison system. Most prisoners in the US are required to work, and all state and federal prisons have at least some sort of prison work. New York prisoners staff DMV call centers, Michigan prisoners make license plates, California prisoners fight wildfires, and some Texas prisoners literally work the same farmland where slave plantations once stood 100 years ago. Prisoners often make an average of 63 cents an hour, and some states do not pay prisoners for their labor, even though prison labor generates more than $74 billion a year in goods and services. Furthermore, laws that protect workers, such as the Fair Labor Standards Act, do not apply within prisons, meaning that mistreatment of prison workers is rampant. Forced prison labor is only the tip of the iceberg. In 2017, Hutchins State Jail in Texas was without air conditioning during one of the hottest recorded summers in the US. Inside the cell blocks, temperatures reached up to 150 degrees Fahrenheit, turning the prison into an oven that slowly and painfully baked Larry McCollum alive. Found convulsing in his bed, McCollum was brought to the local hospital where his temperature was measured at 109.4 degrees Fahrenheit. To add insult to injury, the Texas Department of Criminal Justice refused to let Larry's wife and 2 kids visit his brain-dead body, which was left on life support. Larry McCollum died 11 days later and is one of the 22 heat-related deaths that occurred in Texas prisons. I could go on about the mistreatment and physical abuse that prisoners endure. However, let's focus on the economy of the US prison system. Large corporations profit hugely on prisoner labor. A recent study revealed that companies such as McDonald's, Wendy's, Walmart, Starbucks, Verizon, Victoria's Secret, JCPenney, American Airlines, and thousands more use prison labor in their supply chain. As well as getting free labor, these companies also get huge reward tax write-offs from the government for hiring risky groups of individuals. Incarceration does not only give lots of money to big corporations, it takes money away from the inmates. The average earnings that someone will lose over their lifetime by being incarcerated is nearly $500,000. But let's say that person serves their time behind bars and is now released back into society. Great. They learned their lesson and won't commit a crime again, right? Well, no, as most employers will refuse to hire someone with a criminal record. This contributes to the 67% of the formerly incarcerated that are unemployed. And what happens when someone is without an income and desperate? They can steal or partake in other criminal activity to be able to survive. It's the unforgiving cycle of the American prisoner. Even though I've covered a lot today, I've only talked about a sliver of injustice that is occurring right now in prisons across the US. For more information and an in-depth talk about the prison system, I suggest watching the amazing documentary 13th on Netflix. It's not all doom and gloom, however. Many organizations are fighting for the rights of prisoners as we speak. Organizations such as the Sentencing Project, Rights Behind Bars, and the American Civil Liberties Union are fighting for depenalization and better reform for prisoners. These organizations are proposing bills that would require prisoners to have job training, therapy, and other basic human needs so that prisoners will have the chance to rejoin society. I am by no means a Christian, but I like to end this video with a verse from the Bible. Remember those in prison as if you were there yourself. Remember also those being mistreated as if you felt their pain in your own bodies. Keep fighting for justice.